Let's try that. Hello, this is Dr. Linda Martin, and welcome to the Safety Struggle, our first live stream, having a few technical difficulties. I'm here with Sam Greensitt, who is in London, England, across I would say the blue ocean, but I think it's kind of greenish and
Mm.
a little stormy today. So welcome, Sam.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
I'm really excited about this, and I'm hoping that somewhere we're live on YouTube. If
Mm.
not, well, then we'll just have this for later.
I do have it open. I'm just double checking here.
Okay.
But let's see. Who knows?
All right. Oh, we are live.
Wonderful.
There we are. All right. So again, I'm here with Sam Greensitt, and he's in London, England, and we're going to talk a little bit about who Sam is and how we met. And then again, I'm here with Sam Greensitt, who's in London, England, and we're going to turn that off in the background. Who Sam is. All right. And so we're going to talk about who he is and how we got to know each other through LinkedIn. But I want to know a little bit about you, Sam, first, what you do in England and kind of who you work for and kind of what industry you're in as far as safety goes.
Yeah. So I work for a house builder called Red Row. So we build mid-rise, high-rise in London. Across the rest of the UK, we're a house builder. So traditional house builder, middle of a big green field, 200 houses on a housing estate kind of business. Uniquely to London, we build kind of mid-rise and high-rise apartment blocks, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I found you on LinkedIn through some of your posts that you make. I thought there was some really good ideas being put out there. And one of the posts that you made yesterday or the day before, it seems like a blur right now, had to do with younger people getting into our career.
Mm-hmm.
And it went wild as far as the number of people that commented on it.
Yeah.
And there were some good comments and some sort of so comments.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about that post. Do you want me to read you the post and then you can explain to me why you made that post?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. I think we spoke the other day, didn't we? We spoke about it's level-headed social media, isn't it? You know, the frequency of crazy posts is low, I'd say. You know.
Yeah, I'm going to say, LinkedIn can be a little give or take. It just depends on who you're talking to, and for the most part, I get level-headed people on my posts, but there are a couple in particular that I wrote down here that I'll bring up in a little bit. But the post that you made was today's discussion: younger people emerging into HSE careers. Is the role of health and safety and/or environmental expert becoming more about personality, innovation, and ability to think differently, or does a black and white policeman mindset still hold a high value within some or all organizations, or do the two elements intertwine? And I went on there and I said, I think it's a little bit of both, right? People need to have both skills, and I'm wondering what your take on it and what were you expecting from that post?
Yeah, I think it was originally an element of curiosity around younger people being attracted to the industry, and also the hunger for larger entities on attracting younger people into the industry as a way of bringing new people through the front door. And I think things like graduate schemes and all those different elements where younger people are maybe attracted, or in some cases not attracted, to health and safety or any compliance-based environment. So if it's environmental or sustainability, and I was curious really as to why a young person would be attracted to our industry. And I think, as I see it, we're moving towards becoming more personality driven, innovation driven, creative driven, and that can be attractive to younger people if they see it as more of a people based occupation. I think if it's sold to someone as you're talking to people, you're understanding people, you're creating ways that people can interact with what we all see as maybe quite a mundane subject, which is the safety management system, you know.
Right.
And I think I think what the post told me was that most people now understand the sound bites, they understand where the industry is going, and they understand how to say those things and how to express themselves as, yeah, we all work and we drive our personalities, and that's how we all work now as health and safety professionals. I mean, I didn't see anyone on the thread that said, no, I just really like doing the black and white thing. I just like ticking and crossing boxes. But as we've already discussed previously, when we were catching up before the show, that there is a time and a place for the crosses and the ticks in the boxes. But through bigger organizations that really want to deep dive and understand how they can really affect someone's safety mentality, I think we're moving towards a cultural element of safety is at the center of everything we do. And if you're putting that first in your business, and it's not just a layer of the business, it's within every layer of business,
right?
You need people that can really, be the culture carriers,
right?
For that mindset.
I don't think without those, I like that word, culture carriers, right? A lot of people throw out safety culture this, safety culture that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real disconnect between what does that really mean, right? And it means something different for every single organization. It means something different for small organizations. It means something different for big organizations, because obviously having those people to carry that message becomes much more difficult when you have more people in an organization, right? And so you can't just have the safety people, quote unquote, carrying the message all the time, right?
Of course.
And I just want to mention, here in the States, or at least in some of the schools that I have been affiliated with or know about here, when they teach safety, there's kind of this side that there are a bunch of schools that say safety is a science, right? Which to me says it's really black and white, right? Confined space is XYZ. Excavation should be this, looked at this way. And then there is a whole nother set of people that say safety is a psychology, right? And I believe that it is a little bit of both, right? That you can be as technical as all get out, but if you can't get your message across and you're not connecting with people, your voice is going to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, going back to the whole the company culture thing, is you won't find many CEOs or chief execs of a business that wouldn't say safety is at the center of everything we do. That is one of the first statements. They make their annual statement every single year and they talk about how much money the company's made. They normally mention safety. They say safety is at the center of our identity, and we drive it as a business, and it's key to everything. But the real tester of that is it just, because we employ a great safety team and they drive our safety goals, or is it because everyone who works for us, safety is ingrained into every single person's role? And the key to empowering people to deliver on the company's goals isn't just to have a safety person that goes to a site or a warehouse or a manufacturing plant and talks about safety, because then people just switch off to the fact that, well, of course he is, because he's the safety professional here. So
that's what he does.
Yeah, well, we understand that, because that guy's going to tell us about a hard hat on. Yeah, okay, right, fine,
Right. And then we're going to hope that he leaves soon so productivity can continue and we can make money for the company.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas, when you look at the real safety by design, or you look at safety throughout the life cycle of any industry, if safety has a part to play at the very, very start. So productivity, like you just said, is a great one. If you're in a manufacturing plant and by going by the safety rule book and the management system slows you down and impacts productivity, then we haven't thought about how safety interacts with our business at the very, very start. If we aren't designing for safety, and those machines should be working a little bit slower, so when they're safer, then maybe there's the wrong machines in the manufacturing plant.
Yeah.
So
whether that happens or not, it still goes in the marketing brochure and the annual report, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's still as safety is the middle of everything that we do, right? It's the foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And one of the previous posts on LinkedIn, actually, I don't want to keep bigging up my own LinkedIn page, but it was.
Let's do that. Let's dig in your. I'm all about digging in on your LinkedIn page because I'm expecting more things to talk about in the future. So just keep digging.
Yeah. And it was about why when we go to we attend safety conferences, or we get invited somewhere by anyone with a mindset of going to, I don't know, let's call it an IOSH conference. I don't want to directly say IOSH, but let's say we're going to an IOSH conference. Quite often there'll be heads of industry who are safety professionals talking at that conference, which is fine, because you want experts on the subject matter and you want to understand perspectives of people that have maybe integrated a certain system within their businesses. But what we don't see so often is a CEO of a financial markets company talking about how he's integrating as a non-safety professional a safety culture within that business.
Right.
So I would really challenge that approach. If we're saying safety at the center of everything we do, then why do we only have safety people, on the whole, I'm sure it happens, talking about safety?
Right.
Because I'm sure if you questioned the CEO about his financial situation within the business, he could talk for hours about it. You know, we know the bottom line, we know how much we spend on tools, we know how much we spend on this, and profits and margins and everything. But if you said, okay, talk to me about safety, would he hand off to the safety director or the head of safety or the VP for safety or whatever it is? Is that really ingrained, as he has just said it is, in the company's culture? I think that's one of the biggest questions out there at the moment, because if you wanted to attract people that are coming to businesses for a certain culture, you have to walk the walk rather than just talk the talk.
Right. And I agree with that. I think there's a large safety conference that happens here in the U.S. Yearly. And I have seen heads of industry speak that really value that culture. I would venture to say that there's a different conference that actually has companies join as opposed to individual members, and you will see more heads of industry speak at that one than you will at the one where all the safety professionals go to drink and cavort and do all those types of things instead of really listen to speeches, right? I'm always wary of somebody who stands in our profession, who stands up on a stage and says that they're a thought leader, because I think that if you're a thought leader, then there should be a lot more implementation going on of your thoughts, or they should be innovating yearly or monthly or daily as, the safety profession and safety in industry progresses. And I don't see a lot of that. So,
sure.
So I just want to touch on one of the quotes that was on your LinkedIn thing that I think really kind of struck a chord with you. Somebody posted on your page, and I'm not going to call them out, you're 50 years behind current practice. So, I was a little taken aback at that. What was your take on that?
Well, first of all, I thought he hasn't really read the question, because I was just asking a question based on, where are we in where we currently are with safety? Where are we in the industry? So, 50 years behind. I mean, there wasn't a Health and Safety at Work Act 50 years ago, was there, in the UK? So I don't think many people were having this kind of discussion 50 years ago. So if I'm 50 years behind, well, maybe I'm in this radical, unbelievable situation where I'm an innovator and I'm asking questions that no one else had. I'm a philosopher then, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Like Plato.
Thank you for your contribution, though. Thanks very much for going to my LinkedIn page. And,
well, I mean, obviously, this person was reading down through your comments and finding some value there. The way I
someone
kind of
liked
read
it as well, which I took exception to. Someone liked
it. What I kind of took from that was, and maybe this is just me kind of reading into it, is everybody talks about soft skills. I talk about soft skills, right? And should we be safety cops or soft skills, right? But we have to take it beyond conversation, right? And I know that this, the touch point is asking the question, right? But we're not 50 years behind. We might have been talking about this for 50 years, how to enact change, how to bring culture, how to do all those things. But if it hasn't been implemented, if somebody hasn't brought to the table some good idea that people can find that balance, or at least show that there's a path for everyone in the profession, whether you're way safety cop or way culture improver and psychological genius, or somewhere in between, unless we've taken it beyond the thought leadership, right? Then we haven't done a good job. So, I will give the example of safety education, because that's my business, right? I'm an educator. And so I see a lot of safety programs here in the States. They focus a lot on the technical skills. And, what do we do with somebody who comes out of school and they have a ton of technical skills, right? They know where to look, what page, what chapter, what verse, what regulation, etc. But then they get thrown out with a bunch of laborers or, construction people or on a manufacturing floor, and they actually have to use a little finesse.
Yeah.
But they don't teach that in school.
No.
So in your mind, where would that come from? I mean, some of us have it.
Yeah. I think as a society, we're really good at the what and the how. I mean, the what in safety is you need to wear your gloves, or you need to wear a hard hat, or you need to wear your protective equipment, or we need to be doing X, Y, and Z as per our management system. And the how is our management system. So we understand what we do and how we do it. But then there's, I mean, as we said, if you help the individuals understand why, and the why part often gets left behind, because if the key is collective safety, which is everyone looking out for each other, the minute you walk off site, you want the carpenter who's chopping wood all day to think, okay, sawdust is dangerous, so I'm going to wear my mask because I want to, rather than I'm being told to.
Right.
And so connecting those two pillars between, okay, follow the rules, follow the rules, follow the rules, with this is why there are rules, and this is why we're doing this. And there's always a great connection between we go to work as safety professionals because we want people to come to work and go home as they arrived. But there's a slight disconnect on how we actually achieve that. And achieving that is partly through education of those people in safety critical areas of our businesses. And that can transport itself to all causes of harm. It's illness because you're not sat at your desk properly. It's illness because of mental health. It's illness because you're in construction. You're in one of the most dangerous industries in the world. And I firmly believe that no matter how hardened and grubby and 20 years in the industry all these workers have been, people that work on oil mines and all these different places that have been there for years and years and years and are hardened to doing anything differently. Nobody wants to go to work and hurt themselves, regardless of what kind of mental state you're in. You don't want to hurt yourself, and you certainly don't want to kill yourself. Right. So we know what our how is, which is our management system, and getting people to engage with, like we've already said, that quite mundane subject matter is the why, and helping people understand why means that the supervision who are, I don't really believe in safety, it's just all slowing us down, take ownership of that why and then transmit it to the rest of their teams, Right. So I think it's not even the requirement of, you don't need exceptionally soft skills. It's just, we need to identify with people on personal levels. And that personal level is, I don't want to lose a hand or a finger, or I don't want to have a bad back for the rest of my life because I'm sat at my desk all hunched over, and all these things that we maybe lose sight of as occupational health. It's ensuring people understand why we're asking them to do things. And I think if we can engage with people, which may come through innovation or doing things differently, or just pitching these ideas to people in a different way and helping them spark and understand the why, all of a sudden these culture carriers who are the guys who would never be involved in invested in safety, they're the ones then saying, I'm going to take up the mantle here, and I'm going to say, actually, to the apprentice who's 17 or 18, put your mask on, because this stuff's dangerous. Silica dust is horrible, and wood sawdust is horrible, and all these different things that we always talk about. It's identifying. My advice for people would be to pick the most hardened guy who's lost a finger and he's been in the industry for years and years and years and lost touch of what safety even means. And if you can break down those barriers, then you'll be successful in certain elements of what we're trying to achieve.
So when I hear that, I start thinking about curriculum, right? Curriculum changes in how we train our safety professionals. Yeah. And like I said, we're very heavy on the technical skills, but perhaps we should be teaching business skills, and
Yeah.
perhaps we should be teaching communication skills. And, I mean, all those things are uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? When we start telling a scientist, if we truly are a science, if we start saying, you need to have some business sense and you need to learn how to deal with people
Yeah.
and etc.
Yeah.
Um, maybe that's a way to improve a safety professional from the get-go.
Mm.
And then I think when we get them as a new safety professional, if they don't inherently have the people skills, because some people do, right?
Yeah.
I like to say I do. I mean, maybe people think I'm a little rough around the edges and I'm
Mm.
kind of an asshole, but you know, uh, for the most part, I value people because I come from a background where my father was a construction worker
Yeah.
and I know what the pushback will be. And so when I arrive on a site, I do pick somebody who I can have them mentor me
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
what the task is and what they're doing. And instead of being the safety cop,
Mm.
I become an ally, right? Teach me. I mean, I routinely tell the story about the first day I'm on a job site
Yeah.
when I was 21 years old,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I got dropped off at a drill rig, and I looked at the drillers, and they looked at me, and I said, "Well, fellas, I don't know anything about what I'm doing today,
Mm.
and I'm obviously your boss, and so you can either screw me over royally,
Mm.
or you can teach me. And I would prefer that you teach me so that at some point I can teach other people
Mm.
to do the right thing,
Yeah.
right?" And fortunately, they were good guys and they didn't screw me over and they taught me well, right? And so I learned from the get-go that,
Mm.
you know, I want to foster those skills in other people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So don't talk a load of shit about mentoring. I'm going to call you once or twice a month, but actually when you bring people in, spend time with them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
teach them
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
So,
also as well, it's important to not lose touch of. I get this question asked occasionally. I wouldn't say all the time, but it's this a scenario where, okay, you're met with someone and you're trying to hold these conversations and they're just not giving you anything, and it's no, I'm not going to do it your way. I'm shut down. I know more than you, and whatever it is. And I've always said, we're going back to this being part of your company's culture, then you shouldn't be alone in that conversation. So if you're the lone safety advisor or you're the safety officer or whatever you are on this site, we'll just call it a site because it could be anything. If you have some of the project team with you or the project leadership with you or a manager or a site foreman, and he is talking about safety too, it's not a safety person versus a worker, like a safety professional versus a worker. It's not the versus part. It's actually the site foreman, the site leadership, the guys that are in charge, the people that run the manufacturing plants or the supervisors, whoever it is, they need to be talking about safety just as much as you do. And their message will always be more powerful than ours because they see the safety guy come in with a flashing light on his helmet, and that's the safety guy come in. So it's obvious. Of course, he's going to talk to me about safety, but it's what happens when we're not there.
Yeah.
Is anyone taking up that mantle? Or is it just I'm butting heads with people because I'm disagreeing on what's right and what's wrong? Whereas actually, if there's no right or wrong answer, because the organization itself is leading on safety, and it's not just the safety department that's doing it.
Right. So I have an example of I worked for a crane company as a safety director for a while, and I got a lot of pushback. These guys, 20, 30, 40 years in the business, mechanics, putting together big tower cranes and crawler cranes, etc. And I would come onto the job and I would get this we've got 2.5 days to put this crane together. You need to get out of the way. Don't bother us, etc. And so, um, number one, I was always like, okay, well, teach me, right? I'm just going to watch. I won't jam you up. Just teach me what you're doing. And if I see something, we can discuss it, right? Because I could be wrong. Well, God forbid I could be wrong. God forbid it. And then second of all, I've tried to instill You know, they're thinking productivity, right? Because the boss is telling them, get this crane together in 2.5 days because we're making X amount of money, and if you put it together in 3 days, we lose money, and you know, then etc. What I try to explain is if we slow it down a little bit and we do it a little safer, our numbers are going to be better and we're going to get more jobs,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
let's not think tunnel vision, this job. Let's
yeah,
think the organization as a whole over a certain amount of time is going to get more jobs, and we're actually going to be more productive because
yeah,
everybody's going to stay employed.
yeah,
So I've had good success with that.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
so, you know, when you talk about, you know, instilling culture, you know,
yeah.
that's my line,
How
right?
much
Is
money do we lose if someone falls off of that crane whilst they're putting it up and kills themselves? You know?
well, right. I mean, we've got a master mechanic who obviously knows what he's been doing after 40 or 50 years of doing it, right? But if he
Yeah,
falls off and we don't have a master mechanic, then nobody's putting any cranes together.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
um, you know, just
But I
saying.
mean, also, I mean, just that example you gave is, are we putting profits above safety? You know, if the safety, if the commercial director from your business is saying, let's get it up in 2 days because if we do it in three, we're losing money. Yet he turns around in 6 months' time and says, oh, yeah, of course, safety is at the center of everything we do. Or actually, I mean, that's where, as you know, someone emerging into their careers or someone who's been in their career for a long time as a safety professional, it's trying to manage up the chain and to understand with those people. Maybe let's have that conversation with that person before we're at the coalface putting that crane up, because if he's telling us to do it in 2 days and it takes three,
Right.
then okay, what you just told me about safety being at the center of everything you do, that's just not true.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe that's not the kind of organization that anyone wants to work for, because you're saying you're putting people at risk.
Right.
You know?
And there are a lot of companies that want you to stand there with the flashing light on your hat with the big
Yeah,
safety sign on the side of your truck,
yeah,
and that is good for show, right? What
yeah,
really is good for show is when your numbers bear it out, and people can see that safety is a value because, you know, you're not killing people, you're not cutting fingers off, you're not,
mm,
you know, striking people with equipment, etc.
yeah,
And it's because you are all working together for the same goal.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, do people in London wear the safety professionals in London wear a hat with the flashing light?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. No,
I'm
no,
just
we don't.
listen, I know nothing about English culture, so
No,
culturize me here
no,
because
we don't. No, no, we try and blend in, I think.
yeah, I feel like um so we have a comment coming in from the X Factor of Safety. I don't know if you follow Pedro Maciel and the X Factor of
No, I
Safety.
don't. No,
Um,
it's a
Pedro,
good
can
name.
you clarify your comment on exactly it is a value, not a priority? And we'll just keep talking while
Mm,
you talk about that, right? I think what Pedro might be saying is that value comes from when we work as a team, and perhaps the priority is not safety because we don't have that value throughout. I'm not sure.
mm.
So anyway, I lost my train of thought. Pedro, thanks for being on the and watching us. You're one of 3 people watching us, so I thank you for that. And
Yeah, thank you. Tell your friends quick before we finish.
yeah, I lost my train of thoughts, but thanks, Pedro, anyways, for doing that. Um, so let's move on to safety has to be seen as a core value, not a shifted priority. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
totally agree with that.
yeah.
Um, and I think that's what Sam is trying to say is that we shift the priority to the person who's doing the job.
Mm,
They shift it back to us. Management shifts it to us. We try to, yeah, I mean, everybody's trying to like push the ball around. Whereas if we would just play as a team, we
yeah.
wouldn't have to hide the ball or always hold the ball.
Mm.
I mean, I'm trying to make a sports analogy, but I think our sports are different, right? Football is you can't hold ball in
No,
England.
no.
So you don't hog the ball,
I know what
right?
you mean, though, right? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Anyways,
Well,
so
I think it's that difference between true leaders invoking leadership rather than a dictatorship. You know,
right,
if you're really a leader in industry, and I think, you know, especially if you take the larger companies, and you deep dive into culturally what they're talking about, they're saying the right things, but it's people are generally being leaders or they're being dictators, and people think that I'm being a leader when you're not actually not. You know, you're under the illusion you are, but you're very good at the what and the how. We're back to the what and the how again. You can talk about that until the cows come home, but the leadership really is asking why, and it explains to people why we do things.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that is a value that I think is emerging with people, because you're getting people who are starting to realize that, oh, it's been a dictatorship for quite a long time now, and I think we're ready to migrate to something different.
Right. Right. I mean, I think we are. I think we're ready. I wonder about. You know, I told you yesterday I'm 51, almost 52, and I'm going to guess you're late 30s.
Oh, it's a bit harsh. 34.
34. Okay, you're mid 30s, right? So to me, you're young. To me, I'm making you old by taking you on this
Right.
live stream. But so I think of you as a young man, right? And I think of myself as an old white woman. But I think we're kind of on the same page when it comes to thought processes. And I wonder if it's not a young old thing, if it's
Oh no.
the way a person thinks.
Yeah, I didn't think it was necessarily anything around safety professionals and maybe the demographic that we're in now. I think it's when, I mean, speaking from my own personal experience, I didn't enter the health and safety industry with any aim of being here. I just kind of fell in and ended up doing a few courses because I was someone in the office who put their hand up, you know, and I fell into it that way. But I think if younger people now are looking at, well, my first question is, are they looking at safety as a career before they've had any experience of the industry, just like people look at many other careers before they really know what it's about? And if they are they being attracted to it because it's being pitched now by many organizations as a people-based occupation? So is that attractive to younger people because it's not a compliance-driven, I'm going to wear a beige suit and I'm just going to go to a site and tell people off? Because I don't know how you feel about this, but
I want that job.
You know, if you're in the pub or something and someone says to you, what do you do for a living? I don't leap at saying, oh, I work in safety, because it's instantly, oh yeah, oh god.
Yeah. So here, if you say you work in safety, people think you work for OSHA, right? They're like, oh, like OSHA?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, you know, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's not like OSHA, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's not like OSHA. Some people will readily say, yes, it's like OSHA, right? You know, I think equal parts, at least here in the States, when I talk to students, there are military personnel who safety is a big part of what they do every day in the military.
Yeah.
And it's a very attractive career when they get out because it's a very familiar thing because they learn those skills in the military.
Yeah.
I think that there is a lot more reach out to students in high schools and in trade schools to consider safety as a career because there are a lot of maybe not right now during the pandemic, but there's usually a lot of jobs in safety, and it pays well if you get with the right company.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think, and I'm trying to think of all the places that I teach. I don't think anybody has said, I'm just a people person and I want to get into safety.
No.
I think they either fall into it or they experience somebody doing it badly.
Yeah.
Which I guess could be also thought of as, you know, they see it as a people situation and they want to change it. So I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't see people choosing safety, and I would like to see people choose safety for the very reason that you said.
Yeah. I mean, there's a parallel between why people choose to go into a creative industry. People choose a creative industry because it's doing things differently. It's not necessarily set by real set and hard and fast parameters, which I think there's some parallels there with how this new movement of being a safety professional is. I think it can be seen as a creative industry. We exist to invigorate and change the way other people perceive a mundane subject, and the mundane subject being our rules and our safety management system, which sits this big thick book on the side. Right. And if you're creative in your approach, then I would say that you're opening yourself up to a bit more success. You know, I think there is a lot to be said about having deep set knowledge and certain qualifications and having a base level of, I'm an accredited safety professional, and I think there's a place for that. But trying to invigorate change, you have to often come in at so many different angles. I think you need to be quite creative. And I mean, the Health and Safety at Work Act hasn't changed since 1974.
Right.
So nothing's different. There's a few bits and pieces that have come in, and CDM and a few bits and bobs, but nothing's changed. So the only thing we can really change is our approach to it. And the more creative we get, the more we can invigorate conversation and get people to think differently about our products.
Right.
I feel that we will benefit more in the long run.
Yeah. And I think that part of that is, I just really think that education in our field has to be more than technical. It needs to be, wouldn't it be great if there was like a 6-month, which would be a semester study of just purely people skills, communication skills, creativity, divergent thinking, critical thinking, all those things. And it takes you right away from all those safety technical things, and you learn those, right? And then come back to it in your last year of study, and perhaps the way you look at things would change.
Yeah, sure.
I think students would look at it that way. And even if you come to safety not through a degree path, that there should be a requirement of, some type of internship in that area in order to help you think outside the box.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And to inspire others to do the same thing,
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, I think if we investigate an accident and we investigate a situation that was unsafe, it's the first people we look to are maybe the supervisors or the management teams, or, who put this person to work this morning.
Right
after he hurt himself. So, I mean, we need to impart our knowledge before these things happen, which obviously goes without saying, but we always look to the supervision, and we look to the management teams on site, and how much as a business are we imparting a safety responsibility on those people?
Right.
I think we need to ensure that if safety runs through our business, it really runs through the business, and it's not always the safety team that decide on what we do. I want to go to the safety. How many things can you make a safety issue in an organization? Without trying too hard, every single element, especially at the moment with things like the COVID, and you can pretty much pick all of HR's duties up if you're a safety professional. You can do a ton of management duties. You can be a project manager if you like. You can basically decide everything, because people will put so much on your plate. People put so much on your plate as a safety professional because they think, well, that's safety critical. When actually, if it's everyone's responsibility, why are you coming to me with these things that need to be decided on?
That's right. Yeah. That's the age-old conundrum, right? If it doesn't fit somewhere else, it fits in safety.
Yeah.
Right. Sustainability, HR, like you said, all those different areas. I've had them thrust upon me at some point in my career, and I'm a team player. Some people will say I'm not, but I am a team player. And so you pick them up and you juggle them with the rest of your stuff. But I hear what you're saying. You shouldn't have to do that, right? The HR people should be doing safety just like we should be doing HR, right? Yeah. Because we are doing HR. We are dealing with people. We are in a position where we hold their lives in their hands, and that's an HR issue, right? COVID is an HR issue. It's but it's also a safety issue. So I get where you're going. I think I love the fact that you're posing these questions on LinkedIn. I am going to stalk you on LinkedIn. How's that make you feel? Don't tell your wife. But I'm going to stalk you on LinkedIn, and I love talking to you. This is fantastic, and we could go on about this for hours and hours and hours and hours. But I think that should whet people's appetite, hopefully for critical thinking and bringing up some issues that they should be talking about, and not just flapping their gums about, safety culture this and.
Yeah, the sound bites, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Sound bites, man. I mean, if I could get rid of the sound bites and actually get people to start working together, wouldn't that be a beautiful world, right? So,
yeah.
Anyway, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on and being my first live stream guest. I apologize for the issues with the live stream getting on and Pedro Maciel of the X Factor, thank you for being our only person who chatted in and royally taking me off the subject. I really appreciate that too, because practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah.
So, Sam Greensitt, thank you so much for joining me from London,
Thanks for
England.
having me.
And if you will be so kind, I'd like to have you on again at some point.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Maybe I'll post some more questions on LinkedIn and we can follow up on those.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right.
And this has been the first live stream of the Safety Struggle podcast with Sam Greensitt from London, England. And thank you for watching.